Okay, let's get this party started. I'm coming up, so I'm gonna drink some coffee now. Slurp, 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 slurp.
I don't think that's how the lyrics go to that song.
No, that's actually not even the beginning of the show. The show
Oh.
is the Jeskidding podcast. Yay! Sound effects, sound effects. Yay. And this week's topic is, who are your idols? Who are your idols? And who are they when you're a kid, and who are they now? And is it good to look up to people? We be podcasting, yo. This is the Jeskidding podcast, where sometimes I say shit that I don't mean. I'm like, I was just kidding. And other times I say things and it's just like, just kidding. That was pretty smart. Anyway, we're here and we're talking about idols. I'm going to talk about my idols. Erica, artist, extraordinaire, person on the other side. You're on the other side. Erica, you here?
Yes.
Sound check.
Can I,
Yes.
yeah. Check. Can I talk about Billy Idol?
No. In the midnight hour, she want mama. Right? To the rebel yell. Not Billy. We're not doing Billy Idol.
Money.
We're talking about just idols in general, and who are my idols? Who are your idols? We're also broadcasting this live on Twitch, and there are people who will tell us who their idols were. Some of them will come into the show. Some of them will leave the show in a huff. I don't effing know. Just things are gonna happen as we talk about idols. And hello to everybody in the chat room. Andy, Clutch, Danny, pissed off chick, amazing, right? Not you, Erica, another pissed off chick. Jerry, Sharp, and everybody else who's joining us on Twitch. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about idols. I'll start. When I was a kid, my idol was George Lucas. Dun, dun, dun. That went to a weird place. Erica, who are one of your idols growing up? And then I'll describe what I think of George throughout the years.
A Japanese artist named Masamune Shiro.
Masamune Shiro. So you went obscure idol. And what I respect about that choice is that you, as a child, found some fucking idol that nobody else was looking up to. You know what I'm saying? You were just like, I'm going to find some dude here in America that no one's even heard of, and that's my idol. I guess I'll start. Why George Lucas was my idol? He made Star Wars, obviously. I thought it was incredible. As a kid, I didn't want to be Luke Skywalker. I wanted to be George Lucas. I used to read all the articles about him. I was 5 years old. I used to go up and down the Upper West Side looking for Mark Hamill just so I could like get closer to the Star Wars-ness. And in fact, fun fact, 30 years later, I was doing a little thing for a company I was working on, the internet company, and I was at E3? Was that E3? I was on one of those fucking things. Yeah, this is E3.
Comic-Con.
No, it was E3. Oh, it was San Diego Comic-Con. Maybe. I don't fucking know. It was one of those things. And there was a show that I had produced or executive produced, and I was with the star of that show, who was named Sandeep from Save the Supers. And the original show what was that show with the fucking about World of Warcraft, Felicia Day? What was that show?
Not the League.
Holy shit, why can't I remember this thing?
The Guild.
The Guild, thank you so much. Forgive me out there, Felicia J. and Sandeep. Anyway, Sandeep had made a show, and he was going to be interviewed by the people on like one of those, not Gizmodo, but one of those fucking things. It was a giant show. I don't remember, terrible person I am. And I'm about to go on, and I'm like shooting from the side to get like my people. And I must have bumped into somebody. I don't remember. Anyway, we leave. We go to watch his interview. And they say, coming up next is Mark Hamill of Star Wars fame and the Joker. And apparently, he must have been the guy I bumped into. And he was standing next to me the whole time. So as a child, looking for him. I never found him. My second to George Lucas idol. But he was right there. And I missed my opportunity again. Dummy. And I wasn't going to pay $50 to get a picture and a fucking autograph. Fuck that. So, yes, George, I don't know, totally story, random, don't care. George Lucas was my idol because I wanted to be a filmmaker, still do. And I thought Star Wars was the greatest, most imaginative thing ever. I remember reading as a kid from a magazine, being like, oh my God, he's going to make 9 films, and there's 3 before and there's 3 after. I knew everything about it. I've been spoiled with Return of the Jedi for myself the day before it came out by going to a tiny little bookstore and reading the shit. I read it, and I hate spoilers. And I spoiled the whole movie for myself. And I went and I told everybody. I was like, ooh, Princess Leia's his sister. Ooh, spoiler. I was such a dick. But I still love the movie. So this changed over the years, but I'm going to go to Erica. Why did you look up to Masamune Shiro?
Masamune Shiro. Let's see. So to give people some grounding point, because he's not. Well, no, he's still obscure. So he's a guy that was the original artist and author of Ghost in the Shell. He also did a comic called Dominion Tank Police and this awesome comic called Orion. I don't know what it's called in Japanese. And I liked manga and anime in general, but his style was really detailed and different.
He's an artist, right? Artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind
No,
of
it's
left that
okay.
out. So he's a Japanese comic book artist. So basically, his stuff would just look very different from some of the other comic books I was reading.
Mm-mm.
And I really like the way he did detail. I love like mecha and power suits, and he was big into those in his early work. Like he was a mix between fantasy and sci-fi. He went back and forth, which was
Mm-mm.
cool. Um, and then in the mid '90s, they made the first Ghost in the Shell animated film, and
Which
they
is awesome,
made
yeah.
yeah, and then they made an animated version of Dominion Tank Police, which was really cool. And I liked how his female characters in it, how they were kind of uh let's say loud. They're very confident, very strong women. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even before I was like aware of this stuff. They were just cool characters and they looked cool and they didn't take shit from anybody. Um
So if you were a kid and you were to meet
mhm.
your idol, say you're like 13, 14, you're discovering all this stuff, right?
Yep.
And you were able to like meet him at that time, what would you say to your idol?
I don't know because he doesn't speak
What would
English.
you say through a really amazing, tall, I don't know why he's tall, translator?
uh I really enjoy your work. Thank you. That's
Oh,
probably
you
what I
just say
would say.
thank you. So why was he your idol? Is it because you wanted to be like him? That you wanted to have his skill set? Did you want to have his success?
It was a little mix of all those. I really admired how he drew things and how he saw the world, and he started off as an oil painter. Oh, and I also found out later he also did the cover art for a game I really loved called Lords of Thunder,
Would you?
which is
Would you?
like a side,
Sorry. Please continue.
which is a side-scrolling shooter. But I mean, I forgot what you just asked me. But yeah,
I just don't.
yeah,
I don't want to. Like, I'm more interested in you, to be frank, than I am in all of his collected works, because we're going to talk about a lot of idols today. So I really want to figure out with you and with me. So if you were to meet him today, would you feel differently than you did about him back then?
yes, very different because his work changed as his career went on.
Oh wow, so you idolize him a little less.
Yeah, very much so.
So do you feel like your opinion of him lowered or just changed, or do you still hold on to some of that stuff from before? Like, is it a
Um, I
mixture?
It's a little bit of a mix. I mean, look, like as you grow in an artist, and as you get older, even as a person, your tastes always change. And like the initial admiration I have for him is still there. Like I actually haven't gone back and read a lot of the comics I read when I was a teenager. I kind of stopped reading comics in my 20s, and I don't know if they hold the same meaning. Like I've gone back and read Ghost in the Shell because it's more political, right? So his writing was interesting,
Hmm.
but as I grew as an artist and learned more about anatomy and how things move and work, like his drawing started getting very strange. And like he would elongate women's torsos to the point where it was like creepy, and they were basically like size like double zeros, but with like double E size boobs. And like he started doing adult stuff, which I don't mind that erotica, but the erotica was very, very, very strange. And then he started doing implementing 3D art into his work, and his 3D was really just not well done, and it really clashed with his artwork.
Right.
So as I started growing as an artist, and he didn't adapt well, I think, to new workflows, and it doesn't say anything about his ability to write or even his ability to draw now because I haven't followed him in years. But I
Hmm.
just started getting more and more disconnected because he was going in a direction that I couldn't really adhere
So
to.
that's interesting what you just said. So for me, right, that's it's a great word, and we're gonna go to the chat room in a second. The
Mm.
idea of when you idolize somebody, there's different things that can come along that can like because that's you connecting to them. In some ways, I think that idolizing somebody is not just connecting with them or relating to them, but it's really looking up to them in a
Mm.
more in a very severe way, not in a negative way, but in a sort of severe way. And what you mentioned is like you disconnect from somebody, so it's like there are parts of you that are changing, right? So it's not just them. Would you agree with that? Like that you are
Hmm.
changing. So your perspective, you became a grown woman from a small child. I think you grew out of being a small child. I hope so, and you grew up, and then you. So part of what you mentioned is like he started to really objectify women, and you're not doing it in a social justice warrior way, but you're just saying that's what happened, and that didn't really fit in with the person you became. You started to understand that more, and you as an actual artist, um, you were able to maybe see behind the curtain a little bit in the construction of it because your art improved. I would assume I'm sort of putting a little bit of words in your mouth, but that's what I do. Um, and like it's just very interesting that your perspective changed along with their perspective. And I think the same thing happened to me with George Lucas, right? George Lucas, I fucking love the guy, and I saw him. I went to USC, the George Lucas Film School, and had the building. I stood by it, and I saw him in the hallway, surrounded by people. The guy really, he has no neck. It's very strange. No offense, George. And I got a little nervous, so I saw him, and I just felt no real need anymore to want to go up to him. I didn't like the movies that he was doing. I felt very disconnected for some of the decisions that he made. But I think I still idolized the person that he was, or at least the person who created that work. Like, I think it's possible to idolize somebody at a particular point in time. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? And then not idolize them after that. I also agree with you in the, like, I changed and I see them differently. Just going to go to the chat room really quick. We have two different people, POC and Danny, both talking about how they idolize their moms. And that's very interesting because I feel the same way. And I think that that's a very healthy thing. It's not so you said it's a cliche. I think that's an amazing thing to do. So George Lucas is one of mine. Masahiro, I think I'm saying it right. Shiro was one of yours growing. I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry. Butchering
okay.
Japanese language and people. Don't hate me. Don't protest to show Japan. They're not going to protest me. They don't know who the fuck I am. Hajime mashite. I'm Jeskidding. So, where are we going? So, I think that those are sort of starting out. I had many idols, like many people, like I took karate, so I had obscure ones too, big fighters that'll be like, oh my God, I want to be just like that person. Because I think that's how it starts, right? You kind of want to just be like them in some way. Wouldn't you agree? Erica.
Yeah, because there's something you have to have in common that draws you to the person, right? Or their image.
Right. I mean, there are people that say, like that they want. I think there are different things you can idolize, right? I think that you can idolize, and people have different priorities. You can idolize success, like what their career is. You can idolize who they are, like character traits. I can't think of a third thing. I feel like there's going to be a C to this, and I got no C. So it's more just like what they've done or who they are. And there are people that I've idolized like that, because there are people that I idolize like, oh man, I really look up. Do you think that there's a difference between looking up to somebody and idolizing them? Do you think there's a distinction?
I think so. Maybe when I was younger, I didn't understand, but I think so.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, do you want me to
No, please keep
elaborate?
going. Yeah, please. Sorry.
So there's looking up to somebody and idolizing. Like, to me, the difference is like idolizing is you kind of like glaze over any really shitty things that they do as a person that you morally wouldn't agree with, in my opinion. And I think looking up to somebody is like you almost kind of like touch base with them. Like, I admire The Rock for his work ethic and his attitude. He never says like, "Oh, things came easy to me," blah 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 blah. You hear his story, but he just says you just got to keep working hard, and sometimes it's not fun, and we've all been through that where something isn't fun. Or let's just say, okay, I'll use an MMA figure. Say somebody like a John Jones figure or a Conor McGregor figure, like them. But people idolize them, and they like glaze over these really awful things that they do. It's like, oh man, isn't that so awesome? I was like, no.
So do you think some people idolize the shitty things that they do? I think they do. I think they idolize it because they wish they could be that way. They wish they could be shitty and get away with it. I really do think that there are negative idols out there.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's to me the difference between idolizing somebody and looking up to them. And the other thing that's really interesting is I think when you idolizing is almost maybe like deifying somebody and trying to not accept them as human and having flaws. And I think that sometimes when you realize somebody is human, it can kind of burst your bubble a little bit. Like, oh my God, they make mistakes.
Yeah,
they're my idol.
We're gonna talk about that bursting a bubble in a little bit. We'll get to the sort of, because I've had that happen a lot, and there's a big thing. It's like never fucking meet your idols because they'll burst it. Back to the chat room, we have POC saying never idolize people that she doesn't know. Though she did say that Jesse is one of my idols. That's me. I can't believe that. But it's because I got to know him and his work ethic. A, thank you. B, you should switch idols immediately. It's detrimental to your soul. C. No, I really appreciate that, because usually people, when they meet people, it gets worse. What you really think of somebody usually drops, And then she said she looks up to somebody and admire them, idolization is about putting someone on a pedestal. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. I mean, I went and I looked up, because that's what you do on the internet, what idols said, and it says an image or representation of a god used as an object of worship. That's interesting, because at the same time, it's used for a person or thing that is greatly admired, loved, or revered. And I think there are people I still do idolize in this world, but I think as a person, as I've grown, I've become more like I see myself more like them. There was a famous person, I don't remember who it was, but they said that maybe it was McConaughey or somebody fucking guy that's done well with his life, and he was like, maybe it wasn't him. He said like I look to the future version of myself, the person I want to be, and I try to have them tell me to become them or something like that. Like idolizing not yourself now, but idolizing who you could become, and it's just fucking fascinating because it's like a self-motivator to be a better person. I think that's really cool. So it's a little narcissistic, you know what I'm saying? Because I look at myself and I'm like, there's no way that train is going up. That shit's I'm like that train in that, what is that, Snowpiercer? That just the second it stops, it's frozen. That's it. Or off a cliff. Oh my god. That's so sad. That got really depressing. So let's talk about idols that you don't have to give me names, but somebody you've met, and then it's been like, fuck. God damn it. Why'd you turn out to be a piece of shit? You ruined everything I thought about what was good about the world. Has that happened to you? It's happened to me.
Trying to think. Not really.
Oh, wow.
I've met famous people that have made me laugh when I meet them. They're not because they're assholes, but they just make me laugh because I mean you probably know the one person I'm going to talk about, but I've met some famous musicians when I was at my job at Rockstar, and they were really cool. I've met a couple famous actors, and they were just luckily the ones I've met have just been nice. Like I've heard stories like when they're on like sets and stuff that they were just a fucking mess of a person. They weren't nasty, they were just a fucking mess.
I'll give you one. You ready? Yeah, I'm gonna give you one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean the point of the story is like the ones that have gone bad, right? And I have more than one, but I'm gonna give you one. There was a guy, and hello Brian. Brian in the chat room said there's too much idolizing and not enough looking up to. I kind of agree with that. Because when people idolize, they usually idolize for the wrong reason. They idolize a lot of times for fame or popularity or money as opposed to character traits. You know, and there are people I still would say that I consider an idol. Not many, but we'll get to that. So one time I may have mentioned this here. I was working at a school, and there was a teacher. I'm going to tell the story publicly because I don't give a shit. I'm not going to give his name, but it's a process of elimination. And he worked on a film that I completely loved as a child, that I thought was like one of the fucking funniest movies I've ever seen, and still think it is in some ways. And there were multiple writers on this film. I have it on my DVD collection. I watch it every couple of years. I'm like, oh my god, it's the fucking greatest. And I got a job working for this person. I replaced another faculty member to bail them out of a situation because a friend of mine had to leave the school, and I thought I did a great job. Anyway, I was waiting, and I did the favor for them. And I was waiting for them to read a script of mine. The script that would, by the way, I think go on to become potentially Mr. Robot, or at least influence it. We've talked about that before. Anyway, I had this script, and I really looked up to this guy and wanted him to respect me and like me and maybe look at my work and give me some advice and give me some help in this industry, if possible. And finished the class, and there was some issue over something stupid, but he really liked me and this and that. So finally, I got him to read the script. And because he was pissed off about some girl wanting a higher grade or something like that, something really kind of lacking integrity, to be honest with you, which I was kind of shocked at because he seemed like just a guy who would rebel against everything with the work that he did and the person he presented himself as. And he called me to talk about my script. And to say he took a shit on my script is the understatement of a century. And it's not that he didn't like it. It's not that he wasn't trying to be constructive in a negative, constructive sense. It was a hit job. It was one of those moments where he's like, wow, this dude, and I had tested that script against 10 other people. And I think I took as a semifinalist in a big screenwriting competition, and I knew what I had was strong. And I know so because, like I told you, Mr. Robot. So This guy destroyed it, and he says this is a comedy. There's not one funny thing in this script, and he was so cruel to me, this guy, and so angry, and maybe bitter. I don't know. That I went and found my copy of this movie and I shredded it. I was so angry. And it was just one of those moments where it was like, just fucking boom, you just blew up every single thing I think about you and single thing I think about your contribution to the piece of work that you did. Of course, I'll go buy another version because there were other writers in the film. So I will just assume that he had his time, but he was just a bitter old piece of shit at that point. And it made me very angry. And so the next day, I wound up to feel better about myself because I had to get over this because I'm like, oh my God, one of my idols just told me I was dog shit. And I've worked for 20 years and I'm considered to be a very talented guy and this and that. So I went and I put the song on. I don't know who sang it. I forget. But I put it on loop and over and over and over for 2 hours. I listened to "You're Out of Touch, I'm Out of Touch," and I just felt better because I felt like this guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about, and whatever he was is meaningless to me now. And so that's that moment where sometimes meeting somebody whose work you idolize, turns out there's a person behind it that may not be such a nice person, or may not be a nice person anymore, or maybe have just decided to pick you as a target for some wrath in their life. And it's sad because it can kind of really taint the thing that you love so much. Sometimes I hear things about celebrities and I'm like, please just don't even tell me. I mean, you take films like Braveheart, one of the greatest movies ever made. I'm going to say it right here on camera. Braveheart's one of the fucking best movies ever made. It's so goddamn good. This guy is such a good director. There's just no, that's indisputable. But then I hear these stories of how he's like, he hates this and he hates that. And I'm like, no, dude, don't do it. Please. Don't ruin my idol of what you've done. Don't do it. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out there who look up to you. But I will say, on the other side, is somebody who's inspired a lot of younger people over the years. And people used to idolize me. Every once in a while, you get that again. And I try to get them here that don't. Just let me present the real life so that you see me as just a person and not just a person who's creating a sounds and images on the internet that you're absorbing and taking it your own way. Let me give you the real story, and I'm a fallible person and I'm a real person, so that people can sort of like, accept me as a real person. Because I think there's a danger too about when you idolize somebody, you're not treating them as a real person either, and they're flawed. Like everybody's flawed. There's no such thing as perfect because it's all just a created standard anyway. So those are moments that I've had. Road base in the chat room said that's basically what ad hominem. I don't know what that means. Forgive me, I'm not very educated. Anybody else? Can you, Erica, give me some education on what this guy just said to me? I could look it up, but I'm not smart.
I mean, I was just gonna say you could
look it up. Sorry, bro.
Ad hominem.
Yeah. If there's anything about me that you idolize from my mastery of the English language, I've broken it. I'm so sorry.
So, directed against a person rather than the position that they are maintaining. Adverb. And the way that is directed against a person rather than the position they're maintaining. These points come from some of our best information sources who realize they'll be attacked ad hominem. In a way that relates to or is associated with a particular person.
I'm getting smarter by the second. Can you believe this? You can idolize me for my intelligence now, Erica. Do you idolize me? No. Not even one shred.
No, not. I actually met you in that one out the window.
No, it's totally gone. Was there a moment where you idolized me, like just a brief? No.
Wow, you're putting me on the spot here.
Not at all. Right?
Obviously, I worked with you on a film, so
yeah, I would say that there are parts of your talents that I highly respect. I don't know if I don't really. I think as I've grown older, I don't know how to idolize people. Like, I only idolize people when they've done such fucking amazing things. And it's more like character stuff at this point. You're going to say? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I think it just comes down to as you get older, you can just kind of see things for what it is.
Yeah,
not in a negative way. It's just like, oh my God, I love your work. But then as you get older, like the thing I admire the most is the amount of time these people put in to become masters of whatever it is, whether they're an athlete, whether they're an artist, whether they're like somebody that's incredible at accounting. It's like the discipline to like become that high of a level at something that you just know how to do shit is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that as we grow older, like, not 10 years old anymore, I think we start to see these people as colleagues. I think that's a healthy place to be. And in fact, when I meet people who are younger, and Brian in the chat room said there's too much idolizing and not enough looking up to, we mentioned that before, but I think that's good for kids too to see it, look up to somebody. Because idols, it's like, it's fake. Even like the title, American Idol, it's fucking stupid. These are human beings just doing something. And the more you see them as human, the more you realize that this is stuff that you can achieve. You know what I mean? I think it's a way of, it can be like a negative way of like distancing ourselves from being able to achieve things. It's better to grow up and be like, hey, I can be like that by applying myself in a very particular way. And I think that you and I have gotten to that point where we look at somebody who's like a master level person, and I'm not intimidated by them at all because I don't idolize them. In some ways, I kind of never have. There used to be guys in karate who I looked up to, and I was like, holy shit, they're geniuses. But there wasn't ever one moment, because I was an arrogant little fuck, that I didn't say to myself, given the right moment or opportunity, I can beat them. Because I think that in the combat sports, idolizing somebody to such a hyper extent basically dehumanizes them, and that's not good, and that gets broken by many people. But B, I think it makes what they've done unachievable, and I think that can be a very negative thing. And I also see, like, what do you think of, like, I'm not a fan of idol culture either. Like, part of me being successful on Twitch or YouTube or any of those other things would require me to become that idol. Does that make sense, Erica? Like, to become that, not fake, but sort of like unattainable, larger than life, not cliched, but thing that's like so far above people. And I have a lot of disdain for that. I just kind of want to be on the ground level with everybody. And maybe that will harm my career, but I feel like to be somebody's idol, it's not a negative thing, but to be distant in that way is it's just not a way to relate to people. Sorry, what do you think? Any thoughts on any of this?
I mean, well, look, sometimes some of that stuff is used as a tool, I think, like to sell you something or make you feel a certain way. Like you can use that. I mean, that's, I think, partially where influencer culture comes from. Not that people idolize them, but that's one of the ways.
No, they do, though. They do. Yeah. They idolize their lifestyle. They idolize the way they look. They idolize their fame. So I think you're dead on. And I think that they productize their idolization. And I think it's disturbing. But at the same time, who the fuck am I to say? If they're like, hey, Jess, here's a fucking Pepsi can, asshole. You know what I'm saying? Put it on the screen and you'll make $10 million and da-da-da. I'll be like, hey, buy Pepsi. I mean, I can't blame the people for doing it. They got to make a living. But I think when they buy into their own idol, that's where it gets really disturbing, right? When they think that, when they become that presence and it starts to feed off their own ego, it's very fucking weird.
Well, the thing that's interesting about idolizing too is it becomes a thing where they're not allowed to make any mistakes.
Right.
Like,
agreed.
you're my idol, and if you do anything that's human, well, how dare you? Like, the people, like the obsession with tearing idols down and showing they see they're just immoral, just human. Look at this famous actress that's in her fucking sweatpants with no makeup. What a piece of shit. Like, but that's a human being.
Yeah, we get off on that, right? We get off on building that. We get off on tearing down idols because neither one is true or facts. What's the name? Salty says he looks up to people when he's shorter than them. Thank you, Salty. That's very, very appropriate. And Nationalist says that's why you should idolize someone who's already dead. Laugh out loud. Yeah, it's true. So think about, like, the people that we idolize in the fight over, like, the fucking Christopher Columbuses of the world. Where we're like, is he an idol for my people? And then it's like, does it even matter? He's gone. It's more like, what does he do for your culture and your people? And then when we find out, oh, the guy was a slave trader and this and that, people are like, you're attacking my idol. He was a fucking idol of my people. He's legendary for my people. Or even in the religious sense. It's like, the religious sense is like, hey, we got to kill people who, in some religions, we got to kill people who worship false idols. In fact, I think every religion has done that at one point or the other. It's like, oh, your religion is false. It's a false fucking idol. Our made up idol is better than your made up idol. No offense to anybody. I'm not saying yours is made up per se. Might be. There's this in the realm of possibility. But I don't disparage you for believing whatever you believe. All right, so I just avoided that topic. Holy shit, I fucking rode the line. All right, maybe I didn't. Maybe you hate me now. I don't know. I'm sorry, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, L. Ron Hubbard. I don't know what else to throw in there. Well, Cyberdyne Systems. Please continue.
Well, the interesting person that like has been, I guess we can say, was an idol and then it got tore down and shit on was Elon Musk, right?
Oh god, yeah, they're working on him now. They're like, hey, fucking inventor of everything, savior of the planet, ways to fucking use electric this and power packs. Oh, piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? Pothead. Those go together.
Like, oh yeah, you smoked weed in a state that it's legal, but
oh
it's
my
okay.
God,
whiskey. Holy shit. You mean you like you don't think like everybody else, you fucking weirdo?
Let's ask a quick question for you. Erica, without going into anybody's habits and this and that, I don't want to know because I don't want you to fuck up my idolization of you or anybody else here.
Okay.
Quick question for you. Why is it that weed, right, is so looked down on and it makes you passive? Think about the two drugs. Weed makes you passive, laugh a lot with munchies. Alcohol makes you aggressive, either in losing of inhibitions or actually aggressive. Why is weed lower on the scale of like social acceptability than alcohol? I don't get it.
Maybe because weed makes you want to sit on the couch and not go out when you smoke it. Nor should you, like, drive a fucking car, in my opinion.
No, that's bad idea.
If you're smoking, you should not be driving a car. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've had people, like, literally smoking cigarettes and fucking drunk. Be like, you're immature because you smoke marijuana. In the meantime, I'm happy. I am aware of where I am and what I'm doing. I have no desire to, like, do anything that would hurt somebody else. I'm like, bro, you know what? I just want to go home. I just want to chill. I don't get it. And I've never woken up with a fucking hangover. I never had to, like, take Tylenol or drink water, and it doesn't take me 5 days to get over smoking one night.
Fair enough. Like, so we sidetracked. I don't want to go into too much of it, but I know you've given a proper explanation. And I've also heard the history of this thing, where it was created. I've watched documentaries on this thing and how that happened. It's just more interesting to me. Yeah. So Danny says Elon Musk is an asshole. That's a point of view. I don't know the guy. I think he's complicated. I think he's under a lot of pressure. But I think if I had to say who do I idolize, I don't really idolize anybody at this point. But I definitely I think idolization turned to admiration over the years. And then it turned to, the best word in my brain is, I really respect that person. And I really respect somebody like Elon Musk, because I don't give a shit if people think he's an asshole or not. He's a person actually trying to change the world for the better, and maybe for the betterment of himself. I don't know. I don't know him. But he's somebody I definitely respect, because you take... I'm going to compare him for a second to Steve Jobs. Whereas one guy is creating... has the vision and the business sense to create things that are actually changing the fucking world, as far as the use of electricity through cars, different modes of transportation, power cells for houses, right? The other guy created an empire of computing, but mostly entertainment, and it was more about him than the whole world. So I'll take the asshole over the egomaniac any fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that those are people that I admire, because in that case, so in the case if we had to break it into characteristics, like, do you idolize or admire, or in my term, respect, because I've gotten older, do you idolize people that have accomplished, who are accomplishing things, or who have good character? Because I don't idolize Elon Musk for having good character. I don't know him. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely respect the shit out of what he's doing with his life. How could you not? I mean, the fuck am I doing? A stupid podcast? It's awesome, by the way. You should subscribe. See, but, I'm going to change the world with my words. He's going to change it with fucking electricity. Electricity. My words are better than his electricity. This is known, but I didn't want to be too pompous and have you over-idolize me. Please, come on. Let's not get arrogant, Jess. These are jokes, by the way. Shh. Okay, Erica didn't laugh. So I know it's not funny when Erica doesn't laugh.
I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
I don't know what I'm talking about either, because that's the geniuses. I had a friend once say to me, he said that People who talk in non sequiturs, it's a sign of genius. Now he's making a six-figure salary somewhere, and I'm here on Twitch. I think it was just a distraction technique so he could have a good career. That's what I'm thinking. All right, so back to the topic. Alex just joined the chat room. Hello, Alex. So Alex, who are some of your idols? Guys, tell me some of your idols growing up. Obviously, I think there's a lot of people who would say that they idolize their parents. And I think that's a good thing. Unless your parents are a drunk piece of shit. Then it's not a good idol. Then it's not like, hey, when I grow up, I want to barf and fucking punch mom. That's not a good idol. Let me tell you something. Get out of that one. But if your dad or your mom or your uncle or your brother or sister was somebody who like was out there trying to do things, was achieving things, was taking on the world, that's a great idol to have. Salty said Robin Williams. I think Robin Williams is a good idol, but not perfect, right? So if you think your idols is perfect, Robin Williams, had problems, got a lot of divorce, this and that, and Robin Williams also stole a lot of people's jokes early in his career. So he took from other artists, but he gave a lot more than he took, a lot more. And Robin Williams is an absolute genius who, entertained many of his years. So I definitely look up to Robin Williams, 100%, 100%. POC said she'd take the asshole over the egotist or narcissist any day. We can all be assholes sometimes. That's very interesting, Listen, everybody's got their quirks. And until I'm in the position that somebody's in, as you grow older, you start to say, hey, I haven't been there. Even the fucking orange monster, right? I don't care what you think of him. Even the orange monster is allowed to be an asshole sometimes with the amount of pressure that person is under. No, he gets no pass. Fuck that guy. I don't look up to him at all. All right, so moving on from him. No offense. If you're into it, you're into it. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing. And you can agree. We can agree to whatever the fuck we do. All right, so moving on. So as you got older, right? Who do you idolize now, or more to who do you look up to now?
I've definitely, like others have said, gained more appreciation for my parents and the stuff that they've been through.
Why have you gained more over the years?
Because of everything that they've gone through, and I've talked about this before, so I don't want to repeat myself. Just the understanding of what it took to get to where they are now. And
you feel like you have a longer lens on that now. You can see it better, and you're closer to their age, maybe when you were being raised. So you can see it from their perspective. That's awesome. I mean, me and my mom, I've always, I think, secretly idolized my mom, but not in an unrealistic way. I more look up to her because I respect her hard work. Like, I think that when you're younger and you're dumber,
less experience.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But the when you're younger, you really you look up to things that are so out of reach and out of touch, and you're looking at things that a lot of other people are looking at, and it's like a group idolization, right? But as you mature, hopefully you do, you start to look at things in a much more realistic sense. Okay, where's the actual value? And some people don't. I mean, I kind of hate it when people, like I said, do this sort of like group worship of people, like worship, like idolization. Like, I think sometimes people don't even like those people. They just want other people. They want to be part of the group of people that idolizes somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you look at like famous streamers or famous YouTubers. There's a lot of people who go to those channels, not because they actually like the person. They just want to be part of the crowd that likes a person. That's strange.
I mean, some people are probably just curious, but then sometimes they get pulled in. But like, I've gone and watched big streamers. I'm like, I don't fucking get it. I just don't get it. But I don't yuck somebody else's yum. I'm just like, but again, I'm more fascinated or interested by the age demographic of the people that are watching said streamer. I'm like, how old are these people?
Yeah, they're usually younger, right? Like, the people are like, oh my God, this is that. Somebody in the chat room just said, I worship XQC, and then put a smiley face. So I don't know if you really do or you don't. But XQC is a streamer, and he's very good at video games. So maybe he's idolized because he's really good. You know, I think there's a lot of times you see people who are idolized, and they crack under the pressure because at some point, they don't want, and they rebel against it too sometimes. They don't want to be idolized. They want to be human. They want to be able to be flawed in what they say. Because there's no perfect way to speak to anybody now. Because you say one thing, somebody's happy by it, and somebody else is offended. So those people must be under so much pressure to be this sort of like idealized version of themselves that even they don't know how to achieve. It's got to be so difficult to have like all those people's voices in your head being like, be like this. And then when you say the wrong thing, everybody gets all disappointed. And they're like, yo, I was fucking human the whole time. And then when they're human, all of a sudden they're losing money. It's a really twisted, strange thing to be in the public eye now. Very, very strange. Because you know the second you get it, that like there's a potential that the clock is ticking down till you lose that, right? The clock, when are they going to get you? When are they going to throw you out? When's your star going to fade? What are you going to do that fucks it up? How am I going to like mess up this idolization that I've somehow been able to create in front of other people? So crazy, right? And they go crazy, dude. Like they go crazy trying to protect their investment in being other people's idols. And they're so cautious and so scared that, God forbid, people don't idolize them. How strange, right, Erica? Strange.
Yeah, somebody just came to mind that actually seems to really have escaped that. And the person I think, I mean, I obviously don't idolize her, but I admire her is Lady Gaga. Like, she has plenty of human moments. Well, at least the ones that I've seen, but she tries to be like uplifting to people, and she's like this. I think we watched a documentary at one point.
Yeah.
And like, it's easy to sit there and be like, oh, well, look at this weird lady wearing meat dresses and shit. And then you see the behind the scenes of this lady like basically working until she can't walk. She's like crying because her body is seizing up on her, and she's like nice to everybody around her. Like, you completely see these human things about her early on. Look, I don't know anything about this woman, but the thing that really came forward for me with everything that she did was her work, like how hard she worked, and now she won the Oscar and everything. But you look at her and like, that lady can sing, that lady performs, that lady can act. She does all these things. It's not clean. And I don't know if it's the way she presented herself in her videos or even like the messages she sends out. There's a very human element to her. Like, to me, she doesn't really glaze over with all this pretty glamour. She's like, I'm a human. I fuck up. I have an eating disorder. I like to party. I like boys. This, that, all these things. And you know what it is? She's honest. There's no
Well, we think
surprise.
she's honest.
I think, yeah. Like I said, her forward-facing appearance to the public, she comes off as an honest person. And like I said, I don't really like all of her music, and I don't admire. I've never really been like one of her monsters, I think is what she calls her fans, but I really respect the work that she does, and I respect that she tries, or at least tries to put forth that she's being honest.
I think it's possible for me to really, I like the word admire too, somebody in the chat room said it. I think it's possible to idolize, admire, respect, or whatever verbiage you want to use on that, somebody, what they do and what they're able to like put into the world, and at the same time recognize that I don't know them. So I can sort of draw that line. Even if I did know them, I still really, really put on a pedestal what they're able to do. I mean, some people are incredible. They're incredible. Like that woman who did the mathematical equation to find the black hole, the algorithm. Like, that's incredible. And I guess I could put them on such a pedestal for that thing that they did, or the fact that they could do it. But if I met Lady Gaga in person, I'd be like, hey, Stephanie. Right? I mean, that's her name, right? Like, yeah, she's a person. But then when she performs, I'm like, how does somebody do it at that level? Erica was, I'm just going to blow up your spot for a second. Erica did a few graphics for Mighty Mouse, who is arguably the best UFC fighter in the world for many, many, many years. And I got to meet him, luckily, through Erica. And I don't know, he's just like, outside of the genius that he is in what he does, he's just a normal dude. And I think that's great. And I think it's great to be able to separate it. And I think that people who are in those positions appreciate that separation, because they are just like everybody else. I think the idolization is the productization of somebody. And I kind of always been afraid of it for myself, if I ever get to that level. But I also know that it's required to be this package. Make sense? It's a very strange thing, the whole fucking thing. I don't know. I don't. I'm very conflicted about it. Maybe that's why it's not meant for me. Maybe I'm just too straightforward for it. I don't know. Because there's something in there that takes a piece of you and makes it very false. Not sure. All right, so guys, anybody in the chat room who would like to join the discussion, you can jump into one of the Discord voice channels, and we will jump you in for one or two. If you don't like, that's totally cool. TIE Fighter says he doesn't worship anyone. People who worship others or put their mood on others is because they are unhappy with themselves. I don't know how I feel about that. I think when you're young, you idolize a lot of people because it's your future, right? It's like looking forward and be like, oh my God, I want to be like that. I think that the idolization you're describing is very particular. I think you're describing like incredible fandom. You know what I'm saying? Like being a fan to the point of obsessive. But at the same time, there are fans of people who just want to be closer to the source of something they think is really cool. But there are people who, I agree with you, there are people who are completely unhappy in that sort of idolization of others, and that sort of leads to that. So I have a list of things usually I talk about. I'm going to get back to that because I'm losing my brain. So a question for you, Erica, is it bad to meet your idols?
I guess yes and no. Like, I have a friend. I'm gonna try not to get off on a tangent here. So there's a comic book artist, named Jeff Darrow that a friend of mine really, really likes, and I've met and talked to Jeff Darrow multiple times. Like the guy's a genius. He did the Sentinels for the Matrix. He has a bunch of really famous comics. He designed a lot of the machines for the Matrix. But like I met him because I didn't have the investment that my friend does, and I was like, okay, let me talk to this guy and get the lay of the land and see how this guy is. He's really, really nice. He's down to earth. He's self-deprecating. He's like, even as like, he's an incredible illustrator. So I'm like, all right, this guy's cool. I want my friend to meet him, and he's a little shy. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's so nice. Like, he's so much like you. I think you would have a great conversation with him, and he just doesn't want to meet him. And it's just one of those things like, man, I did the research. Like, I went in, I was like the guinea pig. He's super nice, but there's always this like feeling of disappointment and you never know the mood of the person you're going to meet. They could be sick. Their dog could have just died. A family member could have died. And that one moment you meet them and that person's an asshole ruins it for you. And I think that's like a fear. Like I've seen famous people walking down the street in New York, humble brag, whatever, but I don't fucking bother them because I'm like, you know what? They probably just want to be left alone. And maybe that's why sometimes they're assholes. Like, they just want to be a normal person.
Oh, they're getting hammered with the idea of be the thing that I want you to be. I personally want you to be the person that always has that catchphrase or sang that song or, you know what I mean, does the Gangnam Style dance or whatever the fuck it is. And that person's like, no, I'm fucking pissed off. I just had a fight with my girlfriend or boyfriend, and or I just ate a shitty sandwich, or I gotta pee, or whatever. They're human. And I think idolization is damaging. So next question is, and I definitely think this is true, and I know you're going to agree with me, but does looking up to the wrong people hurt? Because there's a lot of idols that people have that are very bad for them.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen people worship other people, and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? I think we've encouraged, you and I, when we've met younger artists, right? When we met younger artists or other people, it's like, don't idolize these people because they're successful. Be them. Join them. Work with them. Or work for yourself. You know, don't just, like, everybody starts out as a fan, right? But there's the only difference between a fan and somebody who's not a fan at the Comic-Con is one has a booth with their products, and the other one is roaming the aisles looking at products. So for me, Eric and I said, let's get the booth and let's take our fucking show, Drawn by Pain at the time, and put it in front of people and hand out 10,000 flyers. And guys like Jon Stewart and other famous people came by and stopped and was in awe of what we were doing. And that was fucking awesome because we inserted ourselves into the conversation with those that we would idolize before. I'm like, fuck that. Let's fucking roll. You know what I mean? Let's put ourselves in there. You know? I'd like to welcome 89 puppies to the channel. And I didn't turn off my alerts, so if they come across the screen or they make noise, that's what that is. Thank you for that. 89 puppies is the longest sub to the channel. Isn't that nice? Thank you, 89. Yeah, it's very nice. We idolize his money. I'm just kidding. So I think that you can idolize, which brings me to an interesting subject. You can idolize the wrong things. Like, you don't have to idolize people. You can idolize products. Money's a big thing. You can idolize fame, right? Don't you think? Like, you can definitely take it and sort of turn that. If you idolize money, right, and that's your only motivation, that like money is the like, it's like you could idolize false prophets. You could idolize, I don't know if you can idolize cars or porn. Can you idolize porn? No, never really. Maybe you can idolize a porn star. You can be like, oh my God, if I could just be with this person, I would be happy. There's something about them that's more sexual than everyone else on the planet. Oh my God. Can you imagine? No, I can't imagine. No, they couldn't imagine either. So we're on fair territory. We're all good on that front. Anyway, so what were we saying? What I don't know. I got off topic. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
You say off topic?
I'm off topic. God. So, anybody wants to join the channel? Bubby, you're always a good guest, or puppies, or anybody else. We're talking about idolization of things and how that can be broken and what's negative or positive, positive about this and that. You're the dumb. Yeah, off topic. Yes. Sorry, my brain is melting with the look. I can't even handle talking about being obsessed with people. I think that, obsession. I think idolization is almost like borderline obsession. Wouldn't you say? I think those two words go well together. I think that the more you get towards respect or admire as words, the less you get towards like, he's my idol. I want to be just like him. I don't want to be just like anybody. Do you?
No, because that means I can't be myself.
Yeah. Hello. This is like the perfect definition of why you shouldn't idolize fucking anybody. He's my idol. I look up to them. He's my mentor. She's my mentor. Or I really want to I want to do the things that they've done. But you want to do your own things, don't you?
Yeah, that's kind of why we're us. And like, yeah, like I said, the thing with danger and with idolization is just like you just ignore all the red flags. Like, idolizing a company and working for them, and they treat you like shit, but you're like, no, but I work here. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, they're treating you like shit. Or, I think one of the best examples in sports was Mike Tyson. That poor thing. I say that poor guy. I know he did some fucking terrible things. That is not something that's being ignored. But like, when you see this guy as a human and you hear the stories of him being this little kid in Brooklyn that loved pigeons, and then he got bullied, and that fucking monster inside of him came out, and he just was destroying people in the ring, and then he got bad people around him, and like all the shit that happened, the poor guy lost his fucking mind. And now he's retired, and he's had some, unfortunate personal mishaps, but like,
I feel like you could write his book. That was pretty good, actually. That was long.
No, I've seen little bits and pieces, but like, even just the things that happened to him, and like, he's like, oh, he's a piece of shit. He sexually assaulted people, which, look, it's terrible. We're not going to glaze over that. But after all that dust had settled, and I think he's got to be in his 60s or something now, and they brought him to Brooklyn. I can't remember if it was a building he grew up in, but the moment I remember the most that stood out for me with him was he was holding this small little pigeon, and he was petting the pigeon, and he's like, and I'm just gonna do this. He's like, I love this little guy, and he kissed this pigeon, and you see them flying overhead, and like, it was such a quiet moment. Like, look, like, you kind of saw that guy for what he was before all this shit happened, and now he's really, he's gonna probably make a lot of money with his marijuana business. Don't get me wrong, but you're seeing this guy after all of it, and I saw his HBO specials, but you see what the idolization of somebody does and the backlash to it, and like, he's one of the guys that survived all of it and made it through and did jail time and has a family and has a wife, and now is just basically trying to live his life, but is doing his thing. And I don't idolize Mike Tyson. I admire the strength that this guy had to like basically live with the.
But what you're getting to is the same thing we've been talking about. Is as your brain expands, you lose idolization, and you get more respect, you get more understanding of somebody, you get more admiration for what they've done. Like,
Yeah.
it's not blind. Yes, he chat room asked Ian, what's up? He kissed a pigeon. Yeah, Mike Tyson collects and takes care of pigeons is one of his loves. And one of his stories as a kid was when he used to take care of one is an older kid came up to him or something and took his pigeon and broke its neck. And I think Mike Tyson, before boxing, knocked him out. That was like the start of it or something like some story like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so is addiction considered idolization? Not really. Addiction and idolization are different. I think addiction, if it's a real addiction, sometimes becomes not a choice at some point. I think I think you could be addicted to something that you idolize. I think you can idolize something to the point of obsession, and then you can do jail time for stalking that person. That's never good. I've never done that. I never would. But I think that that's where that goes. But I don't think that they're the same thing, at all. Piss off chick, it's her name, literally. She said one is purely emotional and the other is psychological. That's interesting. I think that, yeah, idolization is really a choice of where you want to look to. Like, who is I think idolization is like you look at something like it's the pinnacle. It's the pinnacle of what you want to be, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I love what they've achieved. I love who they are. It's almost taking something that's imperfect and making it in your brain this perfect thing. Like, you could say that some universes are idealized. And that's bad, too. They said that there were people who were watching Avatar, and they couldn't stop watching it because they just wanted to live in that over-idealized world of the Na'vi. And they were, like, addicted to it because they idolized it. No, what? This is crazy, right? It's like you get there and you fucking, you're pooping out blue shit. That's not good.
This is shit glow in the dark.
It could. What do you think all that luminescence is? It's fucking
poop in essence.
Yeah, it's poop in essence. Poop in essence. They also sang that great song. What do you call that? My Poop Immortal. I don't know what it was.
What?
Because it's Evanescence. I don't know where this is going.
Oh
it was a band.
God.
They were amazing. I used to play that song a lot. I had it in one of my videos. I cry every time I hear it. Yeah, things are coming up. Anyway, so if we don't have any other guests who want to come in, I'm just going to sort of wrap this bad boy up because I think that me and Erica, we see eye to eye on this idolization thing, which is it's good to have people that you look up to. It's good to have people that you admire. All right. It's good to have people who you respect. It's not good to idolize something to the point of not allowing it to have imperfections. It's not good to idolize something to where you feel like it's unachievable. It's not good to trap somebody into that idolization to where they can't be human in return. It's just better to look at people with understanding, depth, and admiration for what they've done and hopefully who they are. To idolize is to betray the reality that's in front of you. That's sort of my take on idolization. Anyway, sorry. Did you have a closing statement for me, Erica?
So about idolization, I think it's pretty much what you said. I mean, you just, like I said, the thing with the danger of idolization is you actually lose out on getting to be yourself and like learning, really. I mean, and it actually can help you be more compassionate towards other people. In my opinion, like I say, I see these sport figures doing dumb things, and at some point, they screwed up. Maybe they're just having a hard time, and then they do it again, and then they do it again, and we're talking the fifth or sixth time these people screw up. I'm like, you know what? You're just an asshole. You may be a great athlete, but you're kind of a dickhead. I don't know how many times you need to do something, and people who idolize them, I'm just like, you're just, I don't know, maybe you're not there, they're not there yet. But I just think the danger of idolization is you just get taken advantage of in some way, shape, or form, or it just kind of closes your eyes to other things that are going on.
You actually bring up a really interesting point. I do want to sort of address that before we get off. The danger of idolization, and you're sort of talking about this, is when you idealize something, you become very vulnerable to it because you've made it so perfect in your mind, so unachievable, so all overpowering and inspiring to you that there's not a lot of you to defend when it wants something unethical from you. You know, and it's like this happens a lot in a relationship. Somebody just over idealizes somebody going into the relationship and they allow themselves to be treated like shit. This happens in jobs where you go in over idealizing the job. You get there's a hard reality to it and you take too much shit from it. I mean, this happens across the board. When you put something on a pedestal, then it can do no wrong. Then you're always the one that's wrong. And I think that there's definitely warning signs. The positive side of idolization, there's nearly not a lot. You know, it's admiration. We talked about it before. The negative side of it is pretty severe if you succumb to somebody else's misuse of that idolization, if they recognize it. You take it either from a job relationship or a pastor in a church who's fucking flying first class everywhere in his private jet. I guess he is first class. He's the whole fucking jet. You know, and raking in the money while you're poor and you're throwing dollars at the stage because he's preying upon your idolization of him. Fuck that. And fuck that guy. You know, he's not an idol. He's a fucking con man. You know, and the people in the relationships who abuse that, the worship of them, they're just somebody who has no respect for other human beings and preying on somebody else's naivete. And jobs that do that to people, what a fucking shame. And you and I have both worked for places and egos and this and that, where people will take advantage of you because you drink the Kool-Aid, so to say.
Well, yeah, and you kind of get the flip side where they buy into their own bullshit. Like, don't you know who I am? Which
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
More into ego. But the other thing that just came to mind is like we're talking about the crazy pastors is like cults, because like you want to.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And like a part of it is wanting to find the answer and wanting to belong to something, which like there's nothing wrong with it, but like. I watched a documentary on Vice, I think a few weeks ago, about this cult that was run by some dude bro, and like the Vice reporter was trying to get an answer out of him, and the guy didn't even give her a direct answer. It was all this ambiguous bullshit, or these crazy people that are going and doing fucking ayahuasca in Peru because they think it's an answer, and they idolize this plant that can severely fuck you up because it's not something to play around with. It's like it's an answer, it's something simple, and they idolize it like it can do no wrong without looking at the dangers of the plant, that if you don't do it correctly, it can actually lead you into psychosis. If you don't take the advice basically of the shaman, who's almost like a psychiatrist and a medicinal person down there, you're not getting the full effect of the quote-unquote medicine, and then you just come back home and get yourself in the same shit that got you to go do ayahuasca in the first place.
That's why I'm sorry. I know I agree with you, everything you say. And I think I'm glad we were going to end and then we're like, this part is fucking important. It's like, I don't trust people that have the answer to everything because they're trying to create that idolization of themselves so that you're just like, you go to them for fucking every answer. You ain't got the answer to everything. You don't know shit half the time. If you're claiming to have all the answers, you don't know shit. And I hate people are like, hey, if you just do this with your life, everything's going to be okay. And if you just do this, but by the way, newsflash, I'm the source of all that. You know what I mean? Be it some fucking business seminar place I went to, which is the same thing as Scientology, but fuck you. You're saying you're not the, don't try to create that idolization in me. Because I look at you and I don't see a fucking totem pole full of idols. I just see a big stick that somebody fucking rubbed in dog shit.
Well, you know, the thing that's interesting is some of them refer to themselves as a guru, which is supposed to be like this was a spiritual teacher.
A poo-poo. That's what I call it.
I call a poo-poo, but it's just interesting.
I'm your guide. I'm your idol. I'm the conduit to God. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Sorry, please.
Yeah, so it's like this, the idea of even, in a way, trying to make themselves, and I was like, I'm infallible, you can't question me, just listen to what I say, you'll be fine. Just go drink that weird liquid over there, you'll be fine. Like, wait, what?
I mean, look, I'm doing a podcast, right? I'm doing a show where I put my opinion into the world. So you could say that the people who listen to my opinion, right, as I project it outwards forward, that they may, over time, if it gets more successful, more popular, like in a Joe Rogan way, they may start to really agree with me. They may even relate to me, right? They may admire me at some point. Maybe not, you know? They may hate me. But a lot of them that really like what I have to say and really can relate to it, may start to look to me for answers that I can't provide, nor should I. I hope I never get to the place, no matter where this goes, no matter what this does, that people look up to me in a way that doesn't see me as 100% just like them. That I'm struggling with the same things, that I have the same fears, that I've had the same failures, that I will struggle in the future, And when I stop doing that, I'm not doing my job. I don't give a shit how successful I am or I'm not, because I made to make sure that I'm not productizing my personality to the point where I'm creating that false fucking idol. And I've done that before, where I felt that power of like my vlogs early days getting more popular. And I said, I'm exploiting myself in a way that's making me not human. I am fucking out. I'm out. Because this is not the person that I want other people to perceive me as. Because I wouldn't want to perceive another person like this. So it's a weird balance. It's a hard balance. But I think it's important to not only be distrustful when other people try to become idols in front of your eyes, but be very distrustful of yourself as you become that in front of others. Because it's important to be human.